Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing a 2022 model from Breitling that's fascinating in that it follows Rolex down the path of pairing ice blue metallic dials with platinum components. This is the Breitling Super Chronomat 44 stainless steel case, ceramic bezel insert, pusher caps, crown shoulder, and then the bezel base itself is made of PT950 platinum. The watch is large, 44 millimeters in diameter. It's 14.6 millimeters thick and 53.6 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip, with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs, but with one caveat. As you can see, the strap itself is broader than the lug spacing, so if you want this specific integration of strap with case, you're going to want to use a Breitling OEM piece or get something custom made specifically for this case. Now, the strap is also wonderfully supple. You can see it has a sort of textile-like texture, and make no mistake, it's all rubber. And then we have a little bit of undulation, almost like links of a bracelet, giving way to a brand new Breitling factory strap with no crimping or gouging. And we'll turn over, and you can see this is designed to echo the shape of the rouleau bracelet that's been resurrected from the 1980s for the modern Chronomat collection. So we have a strap that looks a little bit like a bracelet. That's a long-running theme in Breitling watch design. Now we have a deployant clasp here, single fold, twin trigger release. You can see this watch is still in its original packing stickers, so condition is excellent. The buckle has a combination of polish and satination. It's nicely designed, and with the twin trigger release, this large and heavy watch is going to stay on the wrist until you press not one, but both triggers. So that's an excellent feature that yields tremendous security on the wrist. The strap is particularly flexible, feeling almost more like silicone than rubber, and it's wonderfully comfortable on the wrist. You can even see that there are hollows on the underside molded in to let the wrist breathe a little bit. The case is more of a tonneau than a round case. As you can see, integrated lugs, rather short cropped on each side. There's a bevel, a polished bevel that runs from end to end. The lug hoods as well as the case flank are satinated. We'll roll around to the crown side. We have a chronograph pushers as well as a crown shoulder in ceramic for durability and scratch resistance. We do have shear guard profiles for the crown, though they're mostly ornamental, and you can see there's a judicious blend here of polish and satination. The crown and the pushers are screw down. This watch is 200 meters water resistant. We'll do a quick Lume shot. And you can see the watch is quite comprehensively lumed. We have that lovely T-styled or hammerhead index design drawn from antiquity. You can see that every single hand on the dial is luminescent, and the bezel is loomed at all four corners to make it easier to approximate the time. This is a unidirectional rotating dive style bezel, so you can absolutely use the chronograph as a dive watch. You see, you line it up with the minute hand, and now it's easy to read a 0 to 60 minute count up time alongside the chronograph time. We'll go back to the light. I appreciate that the bezel features a captive bezel design. Now, the bezel is made of platinum, the metal part is. And you can see these screws in profile. They're not ornamental. Yeah, they look cool, but they physically hold the bezel onto the case. So you have to remove them all to remove the bezel, which means you can't actually knock it off and snap it off the way you can with a Tag or an Omega or a Rolex. It's called a captive bezel. Breitling and Zinn in particular use this design. Now, the Chronomat was reborn in 1983 and 84 as a aviator's chronograph, and at that point certain elements like the rider tabs on the bezel came into play. The original Chronomat was launched in 1942. It was originally a sort of circular slide rule calculator bezel, a proto-navitimer if you will, whereas post-1983 the Chronomat has been more of a hybrid dive chronograph aviator's piece. This set of crenellations or rider tabs makes it easier to grip the bezel when your hands might be wet, sweaty, or gloved. And if you're using it as a dive watch, they may very well be wet. It has a super refined 120 click action that's a pleasure to operate, as bad bezel feel can ruin a dive style bezel. That's not a problem here. And because it does have the ceramic inlays, it's going to be very scratch resistant. It does add some richness and yes, some tangible weight to the watch. The dial is tone on tone, and on Breitling watches post-2017, that tone-on-tone design means in-house caliber, the B01 in this instance. You can see the Breitling B today also features no wings. Georges Kern, the CEO of Breitling, wants you to think of it as a land, sea, and air sports company, not just air. We have applied indices. We have rhodium-plated steel hands. We have sunken registers with concentric patterns. And then you can see that the chronomat is also a chronometer, and that it is. There's a tachymeter scale inboard that acts as a flange above the dial, and that can be used to gauge the speed of an object, such as a race car, or perhaps at the Reno Air Races, a racing airplane around a course. The watch does include a couple of subsidiary setting modes, one of which is hacking seconds. So you can see constant seconds is running until I pull the crown out. Now the second stops, and we also have a quick set system to rapidly cycle the date. And you'll be pleased by the fact that Breitling has done everything possible to make sure that the fonts across the dial on the chapter ring and the date and the sub-registers actually match each other. And the same goes for the numerals on the bezel. That's not something that companies always get right. We have this lovely ice blue dial, indicative of the presence of platinum on a Rolex and now on a Breitling as well. The watch features a vertical clutch, which means when you start the chronograph, there's no jump or stagger. It's a seamless system with no play. It doesn't involve toothed gear engagement. So when you start it, it just starts. It doesn't hop forward like a lateral clutch. Also, column wheel actuation, and you can see the column wheel on the reverse side. It feels and it sounds great, and I've always felt the Breitling B01 is one of the markers, the real standards for the industry, alongside watches like the Rolex Daytona with its 4131, 4132, the lug-to-lug with the L951 caliber. All of them have column wheel feel that sounds and feels great. Not every column wheel is created equal. Some have better feel, and this is right at the top of the pile. Automatic winding, 70-hour power reserve, pivots on 47 joules, beats at 8 beats per second. 5 position adjusted. It is a COSC certified Swiss chronometer. You can see it as a sort of semi-custom regulator that does include Edachron elements, which I like because Edachron allows for a watch to be very, very precisely regulated. So COSC certified with a near 3-day power reserve, column wheel vertical clutch, hacking, and a quick set date. This watch is the full package. And yes, 200 meters water resistant, unidirectional rotating bezel, screw down crowns. This is also a dive watch. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.